Our story tonight begins in the hush of late afternoon, in a quiet little glade tucked beneath the fold of a greenwood hill. The birds have hushed to a whisper now, and the sky, painted in sleepy apricot and dusky lavender, begins its slow descent into twilight. Nestled between old knotted hazel trees and a winding brook that hums like a lullaby, is a thatched roof cottage, warm and low and kind. Its walls are thick with cob and moss, a patchwork of time and touch. Its windows, tiny, were puffed with fog from within, and through them comes the flicker of firelight, dancing gently on stone. This is where our story simmers, where calm begins. Inside lives the herbalist herself. She is neither young nor old, just somewhere in between, like dusk between day and night, or dew between rain and dryness. Her hands are strong but gentle, lined from years of gathering roots and cradling chamomile, and her voice, if she were to speak, would sound like warm tea being poured into a wooden cup. Tonight, as the stars begin to blink their first silver lashes into the sky, she prepares her evening ritual, not a spell, not a potion, but a simple stew, made slow and soft in an iron cauldron that hums with memory. Inside the cottage, hearth and steam. Step in, if you like. The wooden door creaks just a little, but only to say welcome. Inside the air is warm, not hot, not sharp, just embracing like a woolen blanket that has spent the day drying in the sun. The hearth is alive, a small crackling fire curled beneath the blackened belly of the pot, and from it, curls of steam rise like dreams made visible. Around the room, bundles of herbs hang from the low ceiling, sage and thyme, rosemary, lemon balm, and sweet marjoram. They sway just slightly, tickled by the draught that slips through the shutters, scented like wood smoke and pine. The stew now. It bubbles gently, never in a rush, as if it too respects the slowness of twilight. The stew itself. She stirs it with a spoon carved from ash wood, polished smooth from use. Each movement slow, thoughtful, like she's coaxing stories from the ingredients. In the pot, root vegetables, parsnip, wild carrot, turnip, thin slivers of garlic, their sweetness rising as they soften. A twist of marjoram, crumbled between calloused fingers, and fennel, fresh and bright, cut fine to let its perfume bloom. In medieval times, they believed herbs could balance the humors of the body: earth, air, fire, and water, melancholy, phlegm, blood, and choler. And so each choice is a gentle intention to warm the belly, ease the breath, settle the mind. Let that thought drift in with the steam, just like fennel in broth, swirling, softening. Moments in candlelight. A beeswax candle flickers on the windowsill. Its glow pulls gently on the rough wooden table, where an old mortar and pestle sit among sprigs of dried lavender and crushed rose hips. The herbalist hums to herself now, a low, near-silent tune. No words, just a melody that belongs only to dusk and stew and solitude. She pauses at the hearth, lifts a carved ladle, and stirs again, slow and round. The scent of marjoram rises, calming, like sun-warmed hay, soft and clean. And you can almost feel it now, can't you? That warmth at your chest, that gentleness in your breath. Everything in this place was made for comfort, for the quiet hours between day and sleep. Sounds from outside. From beyond the walls you might hear it, a lone owl calling once, far off, a pair of doves rustling in the ivy, the brook gurgling softly as it wraps around the roots of older trees. Even the leaves seem hushed tonight, whispering in their own secret language of rest. The sky darkens a shade deeper now. Twilight becomes night, and the herbalist closes the shutters gently with a practiced hand. Inside, the candle's flame seems brighter now, the stew deeper, richer. She smiles to herself. She does this each night. not for guests, not for show, but as a ritual, a kindness to her body, to the night, to the slow and sacred act of slowing down. The simple things. On the wooden bench near the door, there's a folded shawl, wool, dyed with woad and nettle, still carrying the faintest scent of smoke and meadow. There's a bowl too, carved by her father's hands long ago, and a wooden spoon that fits her palm like it always belonged there. She scoops the stew now, slow and steady, and sits at the hearth's edge, spoon in hand. No rush. Each bite is small, thoughtful, reverent. She's not thinking of the past or the future, only this moment. The stew, the fire, the breath between bites, a night meant for sleep. And as she finishes her meal, she rinses the bowl with warm water from the kettle, wipes it with linen, and sets it gently on the table's edge. Outside, the stars are in full bloom now, scattered like elderflowers across a midnight field. Inside, the fire softens, its glow a pulse, steady, drowsy. She curls into her cot beside the hearth, wrapped in layers of wool and nettle-dyed cloth, and listens to the breath of the night, to the herbs still swaying, to the crackle of the last log settling into ash. Her eyes flutter closed, her breath slows, and the stew, still warm in her belly, carries her into dreams. Whisper outro, reinforcement of sleep. And you, dear listener, feel yourself drifting too, as though the warmth of the hearth is wrapped around you, as though you too have sipped something ancient and kind. Let the quiet of the herbalist cottage stay with you. Let your breath match the rhythm of her stirring spoon. Slow, slow, slower still. You are safe here. You are warm. You are ready to sleep. The night now has deepened. Outside the cottage, the greenwood is cloaked in hush. The trees stand still as statues, wrapped in silver shadow. Only the softest sounds remain. The brooks murmur beneath stone bridges, a sleepy fox padding over fallen leaves, the night wind breathing low through bramble and birch. Inside, the fire has faded to a slow orange cradle of coals. They crackle faintly, whispering lullabies that drift through the room like wood smoke dreams. The herbalist sleeps, but the cottage does not slumber entirely. There is life in the silence, peaceful, listening life, the language of dried leaves. Above the hearth, the bundles of herbs still sway, just slightly, just enough to speak. Each one tells a story. Lavender hums of summer sun and linen drying on old fences. Chamomile sighs in its sleep, remembering the hands that gathered it. Yarrow rustles softly with its ancient purpose, healer of wounds, guardian of warriors. In the corner near the door, a woven basket rests on a stool. Inside, dry nettle, milky oats, rose hips, all collected on long, slow walks across the moor, tied with twine, touched with care. Everything here is used with intention. Not a single leaf wasted, not a stem overlooked. In the medieval mind, balance was everything. Too much coldness in the body, and the soul might sink into melancholy. Too much heat, and the temper might fray. The herbalist, in her quiet wisdom, crafted balance with every leaf she steeped, every stew she stirred, every bundle she hung. A bed of moss and linen. Her bed is simple, a low wooden frame hewn by hand, padded with layers of moss and straw, softened by wool and down. Above her, a small shelf carved into the wall, holds only three things: a candle, melted low in a clay dish, a small linen pouch of dried lemon balm, to ease dreams, and a book, bound in leather, filled with pressed flowers and quiet notes. She breathes softly now. The stew has settled warmly in her belly, its herbs not only nourishing, but soothing to the mind, especially marjoram, which the old physicians once believed could calm sadness, and fennel, offered to soothe digestion and lighten the spirit. Her breathing is slow, like the tide of a gentle sea. In, out, in, out. And above her the stars go on spinning, unhurried, ancient, wise. The visitor at the door. Much later, perhaps near midnight, a soft sound stirs at the door. Not a knock. No urgency. Just the faintest scratch. A whisper of paws on wood. Outside stands a visitor. Not entirely wild, but not tame either. A little cat, mottled grey and soot black, with soft paws and knowing eyes. She comes here often. She knows this place is warm, safe. The door, left unlatched, yields gently to her nudge. She slips inside on silent feet. The fire greets her with a sleepy glow. She moves to the hearth, circles once, twice, then curls beside the basket of rose hips and nettle, purring, deep and rhythmic, like the rolling of distant thunder softened by moss. She too is part of the herbalist's world, a guardian of peace, a keeper of stillness, a flicker of candlelight. Just before the candle fully fades, its last flame flutters like a heartbeat. It throws one last shimmer across the wall, a dance of shadows in the shape of herbs, hanging like sleeping birds. And then the room dims further, velvet black, silence deep. Only the faint breath of coals remains, and the soft, steady sound of sleeping. One breath, then another, then another. What the book holds hours pass. The night turns over gently in its sleep, and while all within the cottage rests, there's one thing that holds its memory awake. The book. The herbalist's book. Hand-bound, with pages made of vellum and the thinnest bark paper, smelling faintly of mint and ash. On its pages, drawings of leaves, notes in looping ink, dreams she's remembered, recipes written in soft pencil by firelight. One page speaks of herbal sleep tonics, a tradition passed down from midwives and monks. Fennel for clarity, it says, valerian for deep sleep, mugwort for dream walking, poppy for rest, but not too much. And below that, a small poem, handwritten in a curl of ink that fades at the edge. Gather the root before the moon wanes, steep it in stillness, stir it with care. Let the sleeper wander gently, on roads where no sorrow can follow. That page rests open tonight, as if the book knew that you might need to read it, or perhaps feel it, in your own slow drift towards sleep. Outside, the breath of the forest. While the cottage sleeps, the forest breathes. The leaves shimmer gently under starlight, rustling like whispered blessings from 1,000 trees. A stag walks the riverbank nearby, his hooves pressing softly into moss-covered stone. He drinks from the stream, then raises his head, and everything around him is still. The wind moves carefully through branches. Even the owls who rule the night with their songs sing lower now, slower, as if honoring the hush. And somewhere in the dark, a fox curls beneath a bramble patch, its breath misting faintly in the cool night air. Every creature is part of this living silence, this sacred stillness, the philosophy of sleep in the old world. In medieval times, they believed that dreams came not only from the mind, but from the stars, from the position of the moon, from the herbs steeped before bed, from the humors within. Sleep was sacred. To sleep well was to be well. To dream richly was to be in balance. And so, the herbalist made her life not just of curing illness, but of tending sleep, of helping villagers rest through fevers, grief, and war, of whispering recipes to wandering midwives, of steeping leaves for those whose minds were too loud. Every night she practices her ritual, a bowl, a spoon, a stew made not to fill the belly, but to invite rest into every corner of the soul. And now, you are part of that ritual. You are welcome here, in this still place, in this slow world, as sleep moves through the room. Now, let your own breath match the room. Slow, even, like steam rising from a warm bowl. Imagine the scent of fennel, the way it lifts through the nose, opening something soft in your chest. Imagine the feel of wool blankets pulled to your chin, weighty and comforting, like a cocoon of dust. Let your body melt into stillness now, the way the herbalist melts into sleep by her fire. Her cat curled at her feet, her book open to pages of peace. There is no time here, no hurry, only warmth, only sleep. The morning that never hurries. It is morning now, but only just. A whisper of dawn hovers on the horizon, sky painted in the palest grey blue, like the breath of sleep still lingering in the air. Inside the cottage, the hearth has grown cool, but the warmth hasn't left. It lingers in the stone, in the linen, in the way the windows miss softly from within. The herbalist stirs, not with a jolt or alarm, but like the unfurling of a leaf at sunrise. Slow, natural, deeply right. She stretches beneath her woolen blanket, feeling the threads of dreams still wrapped around her wrists, not rushing to wake, not trying to name the night's thoughts. Instead, she simply breathes. A breath for peace, a breath for morning, a breath to stay connected to that twilight world, just one moment more. Tending the hearth. Once again, she rises, bare feet finding the smooth stone of the floor, still cool from the night. She moves toward the hearth, an old rhythm in her steps, the gentle crack of knee and ankle, the creak of old beams overhead, a handful of kindling, a practiced strike of flint, a breath into the embers. And soon, the hearth is alive again. Glowing softly, a pulsing heart beneath the morning hush. She adds 2 small logs, dry and sweet-smelling, perhaps cherry wood or elder, and the fire sighs in return, stretching up with its slow orange arms. The scent changes the room, from sleep to comfort, from dream to quiet purpose. She does not speak. There is no one here to speak to, but even if there were, this would still be a morning for silence. Water from the brook. She steps outside. The door opens with a low wooden yawn, and the cool morning greets her like an old friend. There is dew on the grass. The air smells of wet leaves and riverstone, and birds begin their first hesitant notes. Soft, slow flutes of sound among the trees. In her hand, she carries a small clay jug, smooth with age, glazed only on the inside. She walks barefoot to the brook. Over stepping stones she's crossed 1,000 times, each one familiar beneath her soles. The water is cold, clear, soft-moving. It murmurs around her fingers as she dips the jug, then pauses for a moment, just to listen. Even the water has a rhythm, a lullaby it sings to the valley, one she knows by heart. The first cup of the day. Back in the cottage, she sets the jug near the hearth. The fire has grown stronger now. Its light dances on the low ceiling beams, making everything glow just slightly golden. She takes a little pot of iron and fills it with water, sets it upon the trivet to warm, and while it simmers, she reaches for her morning blend. It's kept in a small pouch, tied with cord, tucked behind a jar of dried elderflowers. Inside, a mix of chamomile, oat straw, calendula petals, and lemon balm, dried just enough to crumble, but still fragrant with the summer that grew them. She places a pinch in her cup, waits until the water whispers, then pours it gently over the herbs, watching them bloom and swirl like tiny paper boats. The steam rises, she inhales, and the morning slows even more. A letter from the past. She settles at her table, hands cupped around the warm drink, steam brushing her face like a silken veil. Then, she pulls a small folded page from beneath her book, its edges frayed, its ink faded to a soft brown curl. A letter, written years ago, by another herbalist, one who walked the same paths, stirred the same herbs, slept beneath the same rafters. Each day begins in stillness. The letter reads, not because we are slow, but because the world deserves our softness. She smiles faintly, traces the old signature with her finger, and then tucks it back where it belongs, not needing to read more. She knows the rest by heart, preparing the day's stew. Though it is early, and her belly is full only of tea, the stew must begin. Stew, you see, is not a meal. It is a process, a rhythm, a presence that warms the room even before it's needed. She collects a few things: 2 onions hung on a braided cord above the door, a handful of lentils soaked overnight, a split root of burdock, scrubbed clean and smelling faintly of earth and bark, and from her basket, a few wrinkled apples, not pretty but sweet, perfect for stew. She chops them slowly, listens to the thunk of her blade on wood, watches her breath rise with the steam, feels the way the room leans gently toward her with each movement. The pot accepts everything, and from it comes the familiar scent of comfort, a scent that will deepen throughout the day, a scent that speaks of home. The soft wind carries a story. Outside, the wind begins to move, not wildly, but like a storyteller stirring from slumber. It glides through the trees, ruffles the ivy, brushes gently against the cottage walls, and with it comes memory. In the days of old, before printing presses and copper roads, herbalists were the keepers of stories. They shared tales as they walked from village to village, gathering wild thyme and sleepwort, offering poultices and tea and words for the heart. They whispered stories to soothe the dying and sang lullabies to quiet the frightened. Their knowledge wasn't only in what they gave, but how they gave it, softly, gently, slowly. And today, as this herbalist stirs her stew, she feels that lineage in her bones. She is part of that thread, woven gently through time, like a root beneath the forest floor. The return to stillness. There is no rush here, no to-do list waiting, no ticking clock in the corner. There is only now. Only the steam that curls from the pot, the herb bundles that shift with the breeze, the cat still dozing in her spot by the hearth, and you, breathing in this rhythm, melting deeper into this still world, held by its peace, carried by its quiet. You are not a visitor here. You belong, just like the fennel in the stew, just like the dew on the grass, just like the breath that comes and goes without asking. Stay here, just a little longer. Let the story wrap around you, like wool, like warmth, like sleep. The mid-morning quiet time passes in sips, not gulps. The sun, still shy behind high clouds, spills its light in soft stripes through the cottage windows. It does not blaze. It rests, like the light has decided to stretch itself thin and wide, rather than rush to warm the day. Inside, the herbalist has finished her tea. The cup rests empty beside the fire, a slight ring of dried lemon balm clinging to the bottom. She rinses it in a clay basin near the hearth, then places it upside down on the drying cloth. Each movement is deliberate, nothing hurried. Every task a small ritual of peace. Tending the garden. She steps out into her garden. It isn't large, just enough space between hedgerows and cottage wall to grow what's needed. No more, no less. Rows of lavender, a patch of rue, a low bed of thyme where bees hum lazily from one purple bloom to the next. She stoops beside the parsley, brushing her hand over the leaves, releasing their green, peppery scent into the air. In medieval kitchens, parsley wasn't just garnish, it was protection, a charm against illness, a ward for wandering spirits. The herbalist knows this. She plants not only for the body, but for the balance of the unseen. Harvesting for balance. Today, she gathers fennel fronds, their bright, feathery leaves glistening with dew. She tucks them into a woven basket, lined with a scrap of linen. Beside them she adds 2 stalks of angelica, thought to ward off plague in older times. A small handful of hyssop, its scent sharp, almost minty, used to cleanse sacred spaces. And calendula petals, golden and soft, once stirred into ointments to soothe wounds, both physical and emotional. Each herb holds its own memory, and the herbalist's hands seem to recall the stories passed down with each sprig and root. As she works, the world stays quiet. Even the birds, content now in their morning songs, go still again. Listening. The second candle of the day. Inside, she lights a second candle. This one, made from tallow and wrapped in dried rose petals. The flame is small, but steady. It throws a bloom of warmth across the table, where a fresh bundle of herbs now waits to be sorted. One by one, she lays them out, ties each with twine, labels them with little pieces of parchment, her handwriting neat and looping. Hyssop, burn to cleanse illness. Fennel, boil for calm stomach and cleared dreams. Marjoram, steep to ease the humors. These labels are not only for herself. Others will come. Travelers, widows, shepherds, mothers, all in search of sleep, comfort, silence, and she'll give it to them, as she always has, in bowls of stew, cups of tea, bundles of scent and story, stitching and stillness. In the late morning, with the stew now thickening gently in the hearth's pot, she sits by the window and picks up her sewing. A piece of linen, half finished, the edges embroidered with curling vines and tiny golden marigolds. She does not rush. The needle slips in and out of the fabric like breath, rhythmic, unbroken, slow. Stitch by stitch, she lets her mind drift. This is the part of the day when thoughts move like mist, gentle, formless, without weight. She thinks of nothing and everything, of the river that curls like a ribbon through the valley, of a friend long gone who once gave her the needle she now holds, of how fennel tastes best when stirred clockwise into soup. All thoughts, all memories, held lightly like steam, then released. A visitor returns. There is a sound at the window, not sharp, not sudden, just a soft pat like paw and tail. She looks up. The cat, not the same one from last night. This one is smaller, paler, eyes like dandelion honey. She opens the window just a crack, and the cat slips in, landing without a sound. It walks across the room as if it owns it, as if it's always lived here, then curls at her feet. The herbalist smiles. Even animals know where peace lives. Books that don't rush to be read. On a shelf above the table rest 3 books. Their spines cracked, pages worn soft by years of touch. She opens one, not to read cover to cover, but to drift. She flips through until she finds a familiar sketch, a root drawn by hand, its branching limbs inked with patience. Beside it, a note in a script she does not recognize. When stirred gently, this root brings silence to the restless mind. She nods, softly, closes the book. Sometimes just one sentence is enough. Just one truth whispered at the right moment. Preparing an offering. As the stew deepens its flavor, marjoram now stronger, apples nearly melted, she prepares a tiny bundle to place by her door. It is not for anyone in particular, just a gesture, a kindness placed into the world. She wraps a few dried herbs, lavender, crushed bay leaf, and a single fennel seed. Wraps them in cloth, ties it with twine, and with a small whisper, not quite a prayer, not quite a spell, she lays it beside the entry, where the morning sun now touches the floor. In the old days, such bundles were called bed blessings, left for those in need, taken without permission, but always with purpose. She does not need to know who takes it, only that it might help, might soothe, might sleep. As noon grows near, the light has changed again, warmer now, shifting toward the golden weight of noon. But the world is still slow, still gentle, still carrying you quietly, deeper into rest. You can feel it, can't you? That you've been breathing more slowly, that your chest has softened, that your mind no longer clings so tightly to today. You are inside the story now, as much a part of the cottage as the herbalist herself, as much a part of the garden as the thyme and honeybees. And here, you are safe. You do not need to speak. or act, or fix or plan. You are allowed to rest, to sleep, to soften. The stew reaches its heart. The scent in the cottage has deepened. Now the stew sings from its place in the hearth, a low, rich melody of root and herb, of warmth and memory. The apples have softened into a golden sweetness, the lentils creamy and quiet, the marjoram now gently blooming against the slow burn of burdock root. The herbalist lifts the lid, lets the steam rise like a curtain. It kisses her cheeks, soft where earthy, full of comfort. She leans in, closes her eyes, inhales, and as she does, so do you. Breathing in that imagined air, thick with fennel and stone and the tiniest whisper of wood smoke. You are not watching this anymore. You are part of it. You are near the hearth, curled in a wool shawl, listening to the bubbling pot, feeling the warmth on your knees, feeling your heart slow to its rhythm. She carries it to the table, and as she sets the spoon within, her reflection wavers on the broth surface. Old stories once claimed that stew could show truth, if stirred clockwise with rosemary on a full moon. She does not stir it that way today. Today is not for truth, it is for comfort. And so she simply sits, wraps her fingers around the bowl, and tastes. One slow spoonful, then another. Let the listener imagine it now. The texture of broth thickened with roots and herbs, the sweetness of softened apple, the faint licorice of fennel warming the tongue, and feel how even the mind can be fed by a story made of steam. A moment for the sky. When the bowl is finished, the herbalist steps outside again. This time not to gather, but to gaze. The sky has shifted, no longer the hesitant dawn. Now it is full, pale blue, threaded with long, slow clouds. A hawk circles in the far distance, too high to hear, but its shadow passes briefly over the garden path. She watches, still, as if the world could pause with her, and perhaps it does, because there are no bells here, no carriages or market calls, only the hush of the wind brushing across her face and the low purr of leaves shifting in the hedgerow. Herbs hung for later. Back inside, the herbalist takes the day's harvest and begins hanging each bundle in its proper place. The rafters above the table are strung with twine, forming a gentle ceiling of scent, chamomile like soft hay, rosemary like sun-warmed stone, fennel like waking dreams. Each bundle is bound with care, tagged with linen scraps and tiny wax seals. In the medieval tradition, these herbs were more than medicine. They were language, hung above doorways to invite peace, placed in pockets to repel sadness, woven into wreaths to ward away storms and sorrows alike. She does not fear superstition. She walks beside it, as one walks beside a river that may carry stories farther than one's feet ever could. The gentle record of the day. She returns to her book, the herbalist's journal, always open to new lines. Today she writes, stew, lentil, root apple, wild fennel. Balanced, no sting, body calm. No dreams last night, only stillness. Cat returned, different than before. Possibly a cousin. Hung hyssop above kitchen beam. Strong scent, good for spirit. She underlines good for spirit twice, smiles faintly, closes the book with a soft rustle of paper and a kiss of herb dust. A mirror without vanity. By the window is a looking glass, small, warped, framed in oak and bone, its surface not clear, but clouded just enough to make your reflection feel like a memory. She stands before it only briefly, checks her braid, touches the edge of her shawl, then turns away. There is no vanity here, only reflection, a place to see what has been softened, not what has been added. The third candle afternoon light begins to lean into gold, and the herbalist lights her third candle. This one is different. Wrapped in dried lavender and rosemary sprigs, set into a basin of beeswax colored with crushed rose petals. Its scent is for peace. Its flicker, longer, lower, more of a sigh than a flame. She places it beside her chair by the fire, and as she does, she moves a basket closer, Inside, wool, dyed with nettle and onion skin, the colors soft, like the valley in autumn rain. She draws out her knitting, a shawl half done. The threads gather in slow spirals as her fingers move, unhurried, confident, calm. And as she works, the light continues to soften, the prayer without words. At twilight, she does not pray aloud. She has no shrine, no altar, only a bowl of water beside the window, a single pine cone, and a stone worn smooth by centuries of river sleep. She sets these together, whispers not words, but feeling, a slow gratitude, for warmth, for the earth, for fennel, for sleep, and somehow, that is enough. Evening returns. Now the shadows stretch. The fire grows bolder in its brightness. The pot of stew, now nearly gone, still breathes a final curl of scent toward the beams. The cat returns. The first one. The darker one. She leaps softly to the chair by the hearth, curls without question, and purrs. The herbalist places her knitting aside, wraps her shawl over her shoulders, and lowers herself gently into her own chair. She closes her eyes and listens to the hush of firelight, to the breath of sleep, to the world that asks nothing of her now. Only stillness, only rest, only the faint, soft sound of a day ending well. And you, listener, dreamer, traveler through this tale. Let this stillness hold you now. Let the scent of stew and story gather like blankets across your thoughts. Let the hush become the sound that surrounds you, as your breath, your body, your mind soften into the quiet. There is nothing more to do, nothing more to carry, only to be, only to sleep. The sound of the moon arriving. The last light of the day has slipped behind the trees. What remains is dusk. Not quite night, not quite shadow. A hush that paints the sky in gentle strokes of ink and violet. The herbalist's cottage grows quieter. No voices, no wind, just the pop of the last log settling in the hearth, and the soft click of her wooden spoon resting once more beside the pot. She steps outside again, her shawl wrapped tightly. Above her, the stars have begun their ancient shimmer, and between them, a moon begins to rise, round and pale, like a pearl caught between branches. In medieval lore, the moon wasn't just a light in the sky. It governed sleep, moods, tides, and the perfect times to plant and harvest. The herbalist watches it now, as if seeing an old friend crest the hill, silent, silver, gliding across the valley on a breath of cloud. The stone path by moonlight. She walks along the edge of her small garden, bare feet touching the cool stone path she laid by hand long ago. The stones are smooth now, worn by time, softened by moss. One stone bears a spiral etched faintly in its center. She pauses there, touches it, closes her eyes. It is a memory stone. Not magic, but meaningful. A place where her mother once knelt to gather chamomile, where an old cat once gave birth, where she sat for the first time after returning from a long, lonely journey. The past speaks softly in such places, not to weigh us down, but to remind us what holds us up. A basket for dreams. Back inside, she reaches beneath her bed and pulls out a small round basket. Within it, soft cloths, a jar of dried mugwort, a small piece of amethyst, and a few slips of paper, folded, yellowed, nearly forgotten. These are dreams, or fragments of them. She reads one aloud, barely a whisper. The path was made of cinnamon bark. The door had no handle. A fox told me where to find the key. She smiles. She remembers this one. She remembers the feeling of walking without fear. She places the paper back inside the basket, adds a pinch of mugwort to her bedside pouch, and sets the basket beside the candle. In the medieval world, mugwort was known as the dream herb, carried by travelers, burned during solstice, placed under pillows to invite messages from the sleeping mind. Tonight, it will keep her company again, and yours too. the balm for quiet limbs. Her final task before bed is to prepare a balm. From a low shelf, she lifts a small jar of beeswax and marigold oil, scented lightly with lavender and sage. She dips her fingers in, warms the balm between her palms, and slowly smooths it into her hands, her wrists, her elbows. Each movement is like a prayer, not spoken, but felt in the joints, in the muscles, in the silence that deepens with each breath. This is not just skincare, it is soul care. A moment to return to the self, to acknowledge all that was carried, and to thank the body for carrying it. You can imagine doing this yourself now, smoothing warmth into the very places that ache, letting tension release like knots coming undone in water, tucked beneath wool and thyme. She turns down her blanket. It's heavy with wool and lined with old linen, hand-stitched with tiny patterns of leaf and star. She settles beneath it with the gentleness of someone who trusts the night. Her head rests upon a pillow stuffed with dried hops and goose feathers, hops known, in long-ago apothecaries, to ease the restless and call down dreams like mist. The cat jumps up beside her, curls tightly, purring once, then falls silent. Outside, the moon has risen fully now, its light seeping through the window in silver ribbons. Inside, everything holds its breath. The room sinks into sleep. She closes her eyes. There is no rush, no final thought demanding attention. Only stillness, only the soft weight of her own breath, the rhythm of the fire, the hum of sleep preparing to arrive. You are with her now, not watching, not even imagining, just drifting in the same warmth, wrapped in the same hush. Let yourself feel it, the safety of a quiet room, the peace of being known only by silence, the kindness of a day that asks nothing more than presence. This room is yours too. This moment, this breath, this story that's become a shelter. Let it hold you. What the stars remember. Outside, the stars scatter their light across the field. They remember every night, every footstep, every story whispered in the hush between breaths. In medieval lore, the stars were not distant. They were part of us, mirrors of the soul, keepers of the great harmony. The herbalist believed this. She often watched them until her eyes grew heavy, not for answers, but for companionship. Tonight, they blinked gently down upon her roof. They blinked down upon you too. Sleep, the steadiest spell. And now, as the final candle flickers low, as the cat's breathing slows to match your own, as the stew pot rests, empty and cool beside the hearth, sleep arrives, not loudly, not quickly, but like mist curling into the valley, quiet and full of noise. Let it come. There is nothing left to do. The story, the stew, the stars, they've all done their part. You are safe, you are loved, you are free to rest. The hours. No one names. There is a space between night and morning. A space the old monks once called vigilia, a time when the world is neither asleep nor awake, only resting. This hour doesn't tick forward, it drifts. Inside the herbalist's cottage, this hour is honored. No candles burn now, no fire needs tending. There is only the hush. Even the cat doesn't stir, and the air, it feels thick with memory, not heavy but sacred, like the kind of quiet that remembers your name. Dreams pressed in linen. Beneath the herbalist's bed, there's a chest, simple pine wood, worn smooth at the corners. She rarely opens it, but tonight, perhaps in dream or instinct, she does. Inside, folded linens, softened by decades, each one pressed with dried herbs between the folds. Sage, chamomile, sometimes a whole stem of flowering thyme. This was an old tradition, to store dreams in cloth, so that scent could call them back when most needed. She presses her cheek against one square of linen, inhales slowly, and a dream flickers behind her eyelids. A hillside, yellow with dandelion, a young voice singing. She does not chase the dream. She lets it come and go, like wind through barley. echoes of sleep from other rooms elsewhere in the valley. Other rooms sleep too. The baker's cottage, flour still soft on the windowsill, a half-braided loaf left to rise near the hearth. The blacksmith's forge, anvils quiet, bellows resting, iron dreams cooling in the dark. The shepherd's hut, wool piled high near the door, a single lamb curled close to the fire's last glow. The herbalist thinks of them sometimes, though she does not see them. She knows they sleep under the same moon. She knows the same wind brushes their shutters. And in this still hour, that knowing is enough. Whispers from the book on the table, the herbalist's journal remains open. Though her hands do not turn the page, a breeze from the window stirs it gently, revealing the next entry. It reads like a whisper. Let sleep not be a closing, but a return. Not a silence, but a softer kind of listening. The ink is smudged slightly, perhaps written by candlelight, or with eyes already half closed. The page smells faintly of dried valerian root. You can almost feel it now. The texture of the paper under your fingertips, the way old vellum holds warmth, the way a word, just one, can feel like a lullaby. The firefly ritual. Outside, near the garden's edge, a soft light flutters. Fireflies. They begin their slow dance, like stars that forgot how to fly high and stayed to dance among thyme and rosemary. In some places, people once believed fireflies carried the spirits of sleeping ancestors, or that they gathered the dreams of those too weary to dream themselves. The herbalist, half asleep in her chair by the window, watches them, not with her eyes open, but with the part of her that remembers being a child. She smiles in her sleep. One firefly flits to the windowsill, pauses. Its light flickers once, then fades. The memory beneath the oak. There is a great tree behind the cottage, an oak. Its roots run deeper than story. Its trunk bears marks where hands have touched it in passing, offerings of ribbon, symbols carved in haste and healing. The herbalist once sat beneath it for 3 days, long ago, after her mentor passed into the green world. No food, no fire, only water and stillness. It is said that the Druids believed oaks were the keepers of transition, standing between the seen and the unseen, watching over what change shape. She doesn't visit the tree tonight, but she feels its presence. It watches over her sleep, just as it did long before she was born. Feathers and footsteps. At the edge of dawn, a sound stirs the silence. Not loud, not jarring. The rustle of a bird settling its wings on the roof. The tiniest click of claws on stone. Then, a feather drifts downward, lands just outside the herbalist's door. White, faintly marked with ash. Inside, the cat lifts its head, looks toward the door, then rests again. Some signs are not meant to be read, only received. Maps not made with ink. Somewhere inside the cottage, in a drawer beneath the shelf of salves, rests a piece of parchment, handmade, crinkled at the edges. It is a map, but not one with roads. Instead, it shows where the violets bloom earliest each spring, where the water sounds like singing, where a robin once landed 3 days in a row, where she once cried and the wind changed. These are not places one travels to, but places one remembers, places where the soul becomes quiet. She once showed it to a traveler passing through. He looked confused, then grateful. She never explained it. Some maps speak only to those who've already been there. Breath becoming dream. Her breath deepens. Not labored, not forced, just slow, even. Like waves that have forgotten what rushing means. The candle is out now. The stew cooled. The journal closed. And in the hush that wraps the room, you feel your own breath begin to mirror hers. Calm, steady, softer with every inhale. This is the rhythm of peace, the lull of safety, the music of a story that asks for nothing, only your presence and your permission to sleep. The dream that comes on bare feet. In the deep well of night, the dream arrives, not on wings, not with fanfare. It walks in quietly, barefoot, like the herbalist herself, and settles beside her sleeping form. The dream has no face, only presence. It carries with it the scent of thyme crushed between fingers, and the sound of ladle against pot, and the sensation of wool on bare skin in winter. It does not speak, it simply is. And as it arrives, her breath deepens. Your breath deepens, and the night thickens around you, like velvet drawn slow across the sky. The cottage at the edge of the waking world. There is a door in the herbalist cottage that most do not notice. It does not lead outside, nor does it open to another room. It is small, set low into the wall, hidden behind a shelf of bottles. But when sleep is deepest, and the mind is soft, the door begins to glow. And if she stirs in dream, if her hand reaches out, even slightly, the door opens. Behind it, a spiral staircase made of woven vines, lit by glowworms, leading downward, but never into darkness, only into deeper peace. She walks there now, in dream, and you walk behind her. The garden that blooms only in dream. At the base of the vine stair, a garden, but not her usual one. Here the plants are taller. They glow faintly. They hum, not music, but something older. The vibration of roots remembering rain. Lavender as tall as your shoulders. Foxglove that whispers when the wind brushes past. And in the center, a bed of silver chamomile. Petals open despite the moonless sky. The herbalist kneels there, plucks one bloom, places it behind your ear. In the old language of flowers, chamomile means patience in adversity. It means you are safe even in uncertainty. It means sleep well. Moonstone and memory. In a hollow at the center of this dreaming garden, there lies a stone. Large, pale, veined with silver, a moonstone. She places her palm upon it. So do you. And what rises is not a memory. Not exactly. It is a feeling. The feeling of your mother brushing your hair when you were small. The feeling of grass beneath your knees the first time you looked up and saw only stars. The feeling of sitting in a warm room while the wind screamed outside and knowing you were untouched. The stone remembers. It reflects that memory back to you. And with it, your chest loosens. Your eyes, even in sleep, grow heavier. An offering of fennel and fire. The herbalist rises. From her shawl she draws out a tiny pouch. Fennel seeds, dried rose hips, crushed rosemary. She walks to a circle of stones just beyond the garden. There a fire has already been kindled. It burns low, blue, smokeless. She scatters the herbs into the flames. They crackle faintly, not like firewood, but like rain on silk. The scent rises into the air, spirals upward, carries a message, not a request, not a plea, just gratitude. For breath, for soil, for the way the stars waited for you to notice them. The sleep deeper than sleep. The fire dims. The garden hums lower. The dream begins to fold itself away, like parchment tucked into a sleeve. Not lost, just stored for later. The herbalist walks back up the vine stairs, her hand trailing along the leaves, and you follow, one step behind. Light as mist, heavy as rest. You return with her to the room, but you're not quite awake. Not really. You are still somewhere between, and that is just where you belong. The final candle. Back in the waking cottage, the final candle has not been lit. It waits on the sill. A simple beeswax taper, dipped 7 times, its wick unburned. Some nights the herbalist lights it to guide travelers in the dark, not those walking the roads, but those wandering in worry. Tonight, she lets it be. Tonight, the stars are enough. The valley breathes with you. Outside, the entire valley has grown still. No wind, no bird, only the breathing of the land itself, slow, steady, ancient. And your breath, curled deep in your chest now, matches it. You are no longer just a listener. You are part of the story's breath, of the valley's breath, of the whole quiet world that knows you and needs nothing from you. And so, you drift. You drift, past thought, past time, past anything that needs remembering. Only feeling, only presence, only warmth. The kind of warmth that lingers in stones long after sunset. The kind of peace that doesn't ask, only offers. You're safe. And the herbalist, quiet now beneath her blanket, cat curled at her knees, knows this too. That somewhere you heard the story. That somewhere you joined her in the hush. And that somewhere you are now asleep. The dream market of old seasons. In the depths of slumber, the herbalist finds herself walking a cobbled path, but not one she's seen in waking life. This is the dream market, a quiet gathering place for memories no longer needed and for comforts not yet remembered. Stalls stand beneath flowering arches of silver ivy, each one filled not with goods, but with moments. A folded shawl that smells of your grandmother's hug, a teacup, still warm, from the afternoon you forgot you were sad. A scrap of lullaby, floating above a pillow that never cooled. She passes each gently, touches nothing, only listens. This market, according to old belief, can only be visited while truly safe, only in deep, true sleep. And now, so can you. Feel yourself walk beside her, not with urgency, only stillness, only wonder. The clock that doesn't count. At the far end of the dream market sits a tall clock tower, but its face has no hands. Instead, its center glows gently, and its chime is not a sound, but a sensation. When the hour shifts, you feel your shoulders release tension. You feel your thoughts loosen their grip. You feel something inside you sigh and say, "It's okay? You don't need to carry that anymore." The herbalist looks up at the tower, closes her eyes, nods, then turns to leave the market, not hurried, not reluctant, only content. She's gathered what she needed, a deeper stillness, a reminder. So have you, the darkness that heals. As she walks beyond the market, the world around her begins to dim, but not in fear, not in loss, in healing. This is not the darkness of the unknown. It is the darkness of a closed eye, a wool blanket, a familiar room lit only by the soft pulse of breath. Some medieval apothecaries once believed that true healing happened only in complete darkness, not just of the eyes but of the mind, a place where no light meant no demand, and no demand meant no pain. You feel that now, the kind of dark that lets your thoughts rest, lets your bones forget to hold tension, lets your dreams speak in gentle shapes instead of words. The herbalist walks forward into it, and you, beside her, begin to dissolve softly, not disappear, just become less heavy. A bed made of memory, foam ferns. In this deeper dream, there's a bed waiting. It isn't made of feathers or cloth or even wood. It's a bed shaped entirely of soft ferns, dark green, cool to the touch, but warming quickly to the curve of the body. She lays down in it, and so do you. It yields, but never sinks. It holds, but never clings. Above, the dream sky fades to a swirling shade of blue-gray. Somewhere, a single chime rings, a note so soft it feels like breath against your ear. You don't need to understand, only to rest, only to let the comfort do the work for you now. A lantern of bricks. At the foot of the fern bed, there is a lantern, but instead of a candle, it glows with what looks like mist. It is made from collected sighs, collected from moments when people finally felt safe. The breath you take after finding someone waiting for you, the exhale after finishing something you feared, the little puff of relief when the rain finally stops. It glows gently, rhythmically, like a friend breathing beside you. The herbalist watches it once, then closes her eyes. She knows this glow. She's gifted her own sighs to it before. And now, it lights the corner of your sleep as well. Moon milk in the cup. Near the bed, on a stone table, rests a small clay cup. Inside is moon milk. A real thing from real caves, formed from soft calcium deposits that drip and pool in slow ancient time. In medieval legend, Moon milk was thought to be collected by wise women, to be used in healing salves, to soften bones made brittle by sorrow. Tonight, the herbalist drinks from it, and you, without lifting a finger, feel it soften something deep in your chest. Not your body, your burden, the sharp edges of the week, of the worries that linger like dust. They begin to round off. You feel your breath smooth, your thoughts fade into mist. You are not empty, you are gently full of quiet. The boat without oars. In the final moment of this dream, a boat appears, low and curved like a walnut shell, lined with woven moss and lit by fireflies and jets. It sits on water so still it reflects stars that haven't even been born yet. The herbalist steps in. So do you. There are no oars, no need to steer. This boat moves not with will, but with surrender. It moves when you allow it, when you let go. She lies back in the moss. So do you. And together in perfect stillness, you drift, not toward a destination, not away from anything, just with the night, just with peace. And still you sleep. The dream begins to loosen its hold, not because it's ending, but because it has given you what you came for. The soft weight of moss against your spine, the whisper of the stars, the memory of the stew's warmth. It's all still here. It lives in your breath now, in the rhythm of your sleeping pulse, in the hush around your body. You do not need to return. Not yet. Not soon. Just float. Just drift. Just sleep. The quiet beyond the candle. The boat still drifts, but the water has become even smoother now, like glass warmed by moonlight. No sound of oar, no breeze, no ripple, only stillness. Stillness, not as an absence, but as a gift. The herbalist, eyes closed, murmurs something so soft it could be mistaken for breath. Let this night be long enough. You don't need to ask what it means. You feel it, in your bones, in the muscles. In the muscles that finally stop holding on, in the thoughts that no longer circle or pull. You've reached the quiet beyond even peace, the place where stories are no longer told aloud, but folded into dreams like letters tucked inside linen. The feather on the water. A feather lands on the surface beside the boat, not from above, not fallen. It simply appears, drifts, doesn't sink, just moves beside you. And when you glance at it, within the dream or beyond it, you feel something loosen, something small, a memory you forgot you were carrying, a worry that no longer needs tending. The feather was sent for that. In old forest villages, it was believed that feathers found during sleep were tokens left by dream messengers, not angels, not ghosts, just softness with intent. This one is yours. It brought you lightness. Now, you don't need to hold anything. A sky that breathes like you look up now. The sky, though still dream dark, has changed. It is no longer far away. It curves around you like a great bowl, and it breathes very slowly, rising, falling, exactly as you do. Inhale. The stars grow a touch brighter. Exhale. They dim just slightly, resting with you. Inhale. The boat rocks once gently. Exhale. The hush deepens. It is not just that you are sleeping under the sky. The sky is sleeping with you. The room of gentle return. As the dream begins to ripple softly at its edges, the boat finds itself docked again, not with a thud, but with a sigh. You and the herbalist rise. No words, no need. A new door waits nearby, arched with woven branches. You pass through it together. And there, you're back in the cottage, back in the little stone house with its rafters of drying herbs, with the pot beside the hearth, cooled and clean, with the cat now curled into a perfect circle near the foot of the bed. But the night is not over. Not yet. It simply welcomes you. To rest again, this time deeper still. One more herb for the soul. The herbalist steps to her shelf, selects a small bundle wrapped in soft cloth. She unwraps it carefully, revealing a dried stalk of lemon balm. Its leaves, even now, hold their calming scent. She places a few into a pouch and tucks it gently beside your pillow. Lemon balm, in ancient times, was called the herb of gladness. It was believed to bring calm to the heart, relief to the sorrowful, and sleep to the weary. Tonight, it brings you all three. You turn toward your pillow, your breath brushing the linen, and the scent guides you further inward, down, down, deeper. The time without name. What comes now is not story, not dream, not even sleep in the way we know it. It's the time without name, the in-between that monks once called the hour of grace, a space where nothing must be done, nothing must be said, a womb of silence, a cocoon of breath. The herbalist no longer moves, she sleeps. So do you, but more than that. You've entered a chamber within yourself where only peace can reach. No sound, no light, only warmth. You're inside it now. Let go, completely. The candle that never burns. In one corner of the room, there's a candle made of solid amber, never lit, never melted. It holds within it an old curl of lavender, a single bee's wing, and a breath, long ago exhaled during a sacred moment of silence. This candle is not for light, it is for remembrance. The herbalist once used it to honor lost friends. Tonight it sits as quiet witness to your sleep. It says nothing, needs nothing. It glows without flame, a kind of warmth that cannot be seen, only felt, like love, like memory, like sleep that heals instead of hides. Wrapped in linen, dream deep. The bed accepts you again, this time not as a visitor, but as a part of itself. The linen sheets, embroidered with forgotten names, curve softly around your body. They remember every person who ever slept in them, every sigh, every dream. You become one of them now, part of the history, part of the hush. There is no fear here, no sharp thought, only the soft hush of complete surrender. You are safe, you are held, you are home. The herbalist, and you. The herbalist sleeps beside you now, not in body, perhaps, but in soul. She is every figure who ever stirred a pot in silence, every gentle presence who ever tucked you in, every whisper of, "You're okay now," you've ever heard but forgotten. She stays with you tonight, not to guide, not to teach, only to be here. And as her breath deepens once more, so does yours, until it's not clear which breath is yours and which is the world's. A dream within the dream. Even as her body sleeps in the warm embrace of wool and linen, the herbalist's spirit moves deeper still. There is a dream within the dream, a space so quiet, so tender, it can only be entered when all else has softened. This place isn't found by walking, nor flown to on wings. It is remembered by the part of you that was never awake to begin with. The part that hums when you hear a lullaby. The part that feels safe beneath starlight. The part that rests only when the world forgets your name and remembers only your breath. You are there now. You feel it, not in sight, but in sensation. The peace of being fully unseen, and yet completely known. The shore of whispering sand. In this inner world, the herbalist walks barefoot along a pale, moon-washed shore. The sand here is soft and smooth, made not of stone but of time. Each grain whispers a name, a memory, a kindness once offered and never forgotten. As she walks, the sand speaks softly beneath her feet. Not in words, but in warmth. You walk beside her. You hear nothing with your ears, yet your heart feels full. On this shore there is no need to speak. The silence itself does the remembering. A pouch of sleep seeds. Around the herbalist's waist, a small leather pouch bobs gently as she walks. Inside are sleep seeds. Tiny things, round and smooth, gathered from the tallest dandelions. from the quietest fields under the new moon. She takes one out now, places it gently in your hand. As your fingers curl around it, your chest feels heavier, not in sorrow, but in surrender. Sleep seeds were once used by forest healers to mark the moments of true rest. When the mind gave in, when the soul allowed the body to return to stillness. You hold one now. You are inside that moment. Sleep wraps itself around you, a little tighter, a little warmer. The loom of forgotten lullabies. Further inland from the whispering shore there stands a loom. It is old, made of driftwood, twine and song. The herbalist approaches it slowly, begins to weave, not fabric, not thread, but lullabies, forgotten ones sung by grandmothers whose names have long returned to the wind, once murmured to children who no longer remember, but still feel safe when they hear certain notes. Each thread glows softly. Each tug of the loom pulls a bit more weight from your shoulders, from your brow, from the back of your mind. She weaves a blanket from sound, and when it's done, she wraps it around you. It carries no lyrics, only a vibration, a hum of everything tender. A room carved in moonlight. She leads you next to a room, not a room built by hands, but carved directly from moonlight and wind. Its walls shimmer with soft, pale light. No shadows, only gleam. Inside there are no beds, no furniture, only still air, and one long sigh that seems to come from everywhere at once. This room is not for sleeping. You're already asleep. It is for settling. The place where your breath and your body meet at last in full agreement. The place where your thoughts decide together to stop circling. Let your breath deepen here, in and out. You are safe here, returning, but never leaving. Eventually, the dream within dream begins to soften at its edges. The herbalist takes your hand. You walk with her back to the boat of moss and firefly. It waits patiently, just as you left it. You step in, so does she. There are no oars, no wind, but the boat begins to move. It does not take you away. It takes you back, to the upper dream, to the sleeping room, to the woolen blanket, to the candle never burned, to the stew still scented in the air. You return, but something within you, the deepest, softest part, remains wrapped in moonlight. You will carry that glow for a very long time. Night watches over you. The herbalist is still asleep. So is the cat. So is the world. Outside, the stars shift, not quickly, but slowly, like thoughts becoming dreams, and dreams becoming warmth. There is no sound, only the hush of a cottage tucked deep in the folds of the valley. And in that hush, you rest, not thinking, not dreaming, just being. And so, you drift again. You drift now, not forward, not back. You drift in circles like steam rising from the surface of warm stool, like breath exhaled after a laugh, like a leaf that falls and doesn't care where it lands. You are weightless, and yet you are fully here. You don't need to decide when to wait. The world will wait. The night is yours, only yours. The first murmur of morning. It is not morning yet, but something ancient stirs. Not a sound, not a shift in light, but a rhythm, soft and slow. Somewhere far above the thatched roof, the sky blushes the faintest silver, not yet seen, only felt. This time of night was once called matutinum by the monks, the small sacred stretch before true dawn, when prayers whispered through cloisters like breath in cold air. In the cottage, the herbalist doesn't move, but her breath deepens slightly, responding to something older than memory. And you, resting so still in the hush, feel that shift too, not waking, just turning, like a shell caught in the tide, facing toward light without chasing it. Stones that know the morning by the hearth, where embers sleep beneath ash. There are 4 stones set in a circle, smooth, round river stones, gathered decades ago from a stream that no longer flows. These stones were once used in a medieval practice called sun coaxing. a ritual of welcoming light back into rooms that had grown too quiet during long winters. They're not meant to be touched, only noticed. And this morning, though no one is yet awake, a single sliver of pre-dawn light touches the nearest stone. It glows faintly, not in brightness, but in warmth. The cottage stirs around it. Wood beams stretch with soft creaks. A tiny breeze calls through the herbs overhead, but the stillness holds. You do not rise. You do not need to. You only feel that glow in your chest, in your belly, in the soft space behind your eyes. The cat and the quiet hour. By the hearth the cat shifts, barely. A single paw stretches. A small sigh curls out from its throat like steam from warmed milk. But it doesn't rise, doesn't meow. It only blinks once, then curls more tightly, its ear twitching at nothing. In many old villages, cats were believed to sense thin places, those sacred hours when sleep and wake, spirit and earth, past and now, gently touched. You are in such an hour now, not awake, not dreaming, just suspended, held. The cat knows it, and so do you. A kettle remembered in sleep. Somewhere in the kitchen corner, a copper kettle rests on its side, empty, polished with years of quiet hands. And yet, as the morning deepens slightly, the kettle gives a soft tap. Not loud, not urgent, just memory, just presence. Once, this kettle poured mint tea into earthen mugs as snow piled against the door. Once, it sang to the steam of dried yarrow and clove. It remembers warmth, and so, as you rest, you feel its memory fill the room. Like an echo of comfort, like the knowledge that when you wake you will be held, even if no one speaks, even if nothing waits. The warmth will be there. The sky peels itself. Open outside, above the trees and hedgerows and silent roofs, the sky begins to open. Not quickly, not dramatically, just a soft peel, like parchment unrolling in gentle hands. Clouds shift from grey to soft rose. The stars begin to whisper their goodbyes. But this is not the kind of morning that startles, not a sunrise that floods the room. This is the kind that waits. It opens only as much as you do. So if you're still deep in sleep, it will wait outside your dreams. A soft promise behind your curtains, behind your closed eyes. You are not late. You are not behind. The sky will be ready when you are. A pinch of salt for the new day. In the herbalist kitchen, a small ceramic bowl sits near the windowsill. It contains nothing but a single pinch of sea salt. In old customs, especially in coastal towns, a touch of morning salt was placed in the doorway, to bless comings and goings, to preserve peace, to remind all who entered that flavor and life belong together. This morning, though no hand stirs, the salt glows faintly in the light. It doesn't need to be sprinkled. Its presence is enough. As you sleep, you feel its promise that even simple things, a bowl of salt, a slow breath, a quiet morning, can bless an entire day. You have already been blessed, even in sleep. The window opens itself. A small gust of morning air finds its way inside. Not strong, just a hush of breeze. It curls through the herbs, shifts a strand of the herbalist's hair, brushes your cheek, and then it's gone. But it leaves behind something rare. Clarity. A sense that nothing has to begin all at once. That you can unfold into waking the same way petals open in spring. Slowly, softly, without pressure. You may not even open your eyes. That's okay. Waking is not a demand. It's an invitation. And it will wait. And still, you sleep. Even as light rises, you remain at rest. You do not rise with the sun. You stay with the story. You are not late, not expected, not hurried. You are still wrapped in linen, still held by dreams, still breathing in rhythm with the hush of the house. The herbalist does not stir. She too knows this is sacred time. The stew may warm later, the tea may steep later, but for now, there is only this. A quiet that needs nothing from you, only your breath, only your softness, only your sleep. The first light on stone. The sun has not yet entered the room, but it has begun to touch the outer stones of the cottage. These old stones, warmed by decades of light and lullabies, do not wake with haste. Instead, they glow, as though remembering what sunlight feels like, as though savoring it. In medieval times, many believed that sunlit stones could store warmth for the soul, not just the body. You feel that warmth now, not in heat, but in comfort. It enters your breath, your spine, the backs of your hands, and still, you rest, because warmth doesn't demand motion, it only offers ease. The scent of steeped kindness. The kettle, once only memory, is now on the hearth, not boiling, just whispering. A soft burble, like laughter half asleep. Beside it, the herbalist has placed a bundle of herbs in a carved wooden bowl. Lemon balm, chamomile, sage, and a tiny kernel of orange peel. These are her morning herbs, chosen not just for taste, but for mood. In the old herbalist way, every morning brew was a message. This one says, "You are held. You are enough. There is no rush." She pours the water, lets it steep in silence, and the air fills with that message. Even in sleep, you inhale it. Even in dreams, you are nourished. Lighting the first flame. The candle on the sill, unlit all night, is now touched by a match. But the herbalist does not strike it fast. She holds the match, pauses, and whispers an old word under her breath. It is not a prayer. Not exactly. More like a remembering. A thank you for the darkness that made the light feel soft. A nod to the hush that came before. Then the match flares, briefly, and the flame catches. A low light glows in the corner of the room, flickering against wooden walls and bundles of time. And with that light, the day begins. Not loudly, not all at once, but with reverence. The herbs that face east. Along the windowsill, in terracotta pots, her herbs wake with the sun. Rosemary reaches toward the light first, followed by sage, then marjoram, and last, sleepy lavender. They do not bloom, they do not move, but something in their leaves lifts slightly, a tilt, a stretch. Ancient texts once claimed that herbs facing east grew stronger, wiser, more protective. And this morning, you can feel that strength in the room, not as sharpness, but as peace, as if the herbs themselves whisper, "You may rise when you're ready. We've already begun preparing peace." The floor beneath bare feet. The herbalist rises slow and steady and places her bare feet on the wooden floor. It creaks just once, but not in protest, in greeting. Old floors, like old friends, recognize the ones who walk with care. She walks to the table, runs her hand across the surface, collects the dust of morning in her palm like a ritual. No rush, no to-do list, just presence. You, though still curled in sleep, feel each of her movements, each soft step, each warm exhale, and without even opening your eyes, you feel ready, not to rise, but to receive. The ritual of cloth and light. She lifts a piece of cloth from a nearby basket. Linen, clean, smelling faintly of rosemary and soap. In medieval homes, it was tradition to place a fresh cloth upon the table each morning. Not just to clean, but to mark the day as sacred. To say, this morning matters too. She shakes it gently. Dust dances in the sunbeam, and she lays the cloth down smooth and flat. A simple act, but reverent. Every motion says, you deserve a morning like this. You deserve peace without earning it. Even in sleep, your breath agrees. Pouring the first cup, steam curls from the teapot now. She lifts it carefully, pours into a small mug painted with faded blue wildflowers. The scent rises. Lemon, honey, herbs, and warmth. She wraps her hands around the cup, closes her eyes, and for a moment, nothing happens. not because there is nothing to do, but because stillness is something. She sips. The first flavor of the day touches her tongue, and the world feels whole. She does not rush the second sip, nor the third. And as she drinks, a silence gathers again. A silence so full of presence, it feels like a lullaby that hasn't ended. The basket beside the chair. In the corner, beside a chair worn smooth by years of stories and soup, sits a basket. Inside, soft wool, half knitted into something round and warm. A project that isn't hurried, one stitch at a time. She picks it up now, not to finish it, but to hold it. The rhythm of stitching, like breath, is enough to keep the mind soft. In medieval times, women were said to weave peace into cloth, with every thread made while humming. It wasn't superstition, it was knowing. She hums now softly, an old melody with no name, and begins to stitch. And you, still resting, feel that hum in your chest. Feel the wool in your mind. Feel a warmth you didn't know you were missing. And you sleep on. Because even as the day begins, you are part of the peace being made. The window opens, just a little. The herbalist stands before the wooden window latch, one hand resting gently on the sill, the other wrapped around her empty cup. She opens the window, just slightly, just enough to let in the quiet hush of morning air. It's cool, sweet with dew, laced with the scent of moss and distant firewood. In medieval homes, it was believed that letting in the morning air cleansed the spirit and welcomed blessings. Not just fresh air, blessings. The wind, after all, carried whispers from trees and birds and far-off bells. The herbalist smiles, not at something seen, at something felt. You feel it too. That breeze touches your cheek, a kindness made of air, whispers in the garden. Outside, the garden has begun to shimmer in the light. Not loudly, no dazzle, no color yet, just soft shapes waking from shadow. Leaves stretch upward, petals tremble in dew. The earth exhales a scent like promise. The herbalist steps into her clogs, wraps a shawl around her shoulders, and walks the worn stepping stones to the garden path. She doesn't speak. She listens. Each step releases a sound from the world. A sleepy buzz from a waking bee. The drip of last night's fog sliding off a petal. The soft crunch of gravel. In ancient belief, gardens were more than plants. They were sacred maps of healing. Each herb a verse in a whispered psalm. Today she's not harvesting. Not yet. Today she's saying hello. And you, still nestled deep beneath blankets, feel each herb nod at you in turn. The herb that opens with breath. At the edge of the garden stands a stalk of mullein, tall, gentle, silver-fuzzed. In medieval villages, mullein was called candlelit plant, believed to protect dreams and lungs alike. Some healers said its leaves opened only when breath was truly calm. And now, as the herbalist pauses near it, your breath deepens. Not by effort, but by presence. In and out. The plant seems to shiver just a little, and your body follows, softening just a bit more. Even if you never see this plant in waking life, your spirit now knows its shape, and it welcomes you. Dew on petals, sleep on skin. The herbalist crouches to touch the blooms. Marigold, borage, feverfew. Each flower has dew like a crystal offering. She doesn't disturb them. She only places her finger beside one and watches how the light clings to the water. In some old lore, dew was said to be sky milk, the breath of stars collected by morning. To wash one's hands in dew before sunrise was to hold a little of the heavens. She does so now, and though you remain resting, your fingers twitch ever so gently, as if they too felt the stars touch their skin. It is not necessary to understand, only to allow. The morning sweep. Returning to the house, the herbalist moves with intention but never haste. She opens a small cupboard lined with tiny jars of preserves, syrups and honeys. One in particular glows softly in the morning light. Lavender honey. She takes a spoonful, lets it melt on her tongue. Not for energy, not for sugar, for grace. In the 14th century, lavender honey was used as a tonic to calm the heart, to ease grief, to soften sorrow stored in the chest. Today, it does the same. She places a second spoonful in a cup by your bedside. You, still asleep, still drifting, and somehow, you taste it. Not with your mouth, with your breath. A gentle sweetness settles in your chest, and something tight within you releases. The hearth stirred gently. The fire, long cooled to embers, is coaxed back to life with soft breath and kindling. She stirs it with a copper rod, not rushing it into flame, just offering space. A flicker here, a curl of orange there. Soon, the small fire begins to crackle, not loudly, a whisper more than a roar. In ancient houses, the morning hearth was considered the second heart of the home. If it glowed, the people inside glowed too. Today, it pulses just enough to warm the room, to let the cat curl closer, to let the air smell of pine and smoke and comfort. And you, still dreaming, feel the warmth on your toes. You do not open your eyes. There's no need. The world is already awake for you. The blessing cloth. Before anything else, before opening the door for the day, the herbalist reaches for a square of cloth. It's embroidered, faintly floral, a little faded at the corners. She places it on the table again, then folds her hands over it. This cloth is not decoration. It's her daily ritual of gratitude. In some medieval homes, a simple cloth was set down to bless the home each morning, to invite stillness, to ask for kindness to enter and for worry to wait at the threshold. She murmurs a word, not in Latin, not in prayer, just in her own tongue. And with that, the room brightens, as if the cloth released light, and you, deep in the quiet folds of sleep, feel that blessing cover you like a second blanket. You are safe. You are loved. You are expected to do nothing now but rest. The cat chooses you. The cat, now fully awake, pads softly across the floor. It looks at the herbalist, then toward the bed. Without a sound, it leaps up, circles twice, and curls against your leg. Its purr is a low, vibrating hum, not loud, but sure. Ancient beliefs held that cats chose to lie beside people who needed healing, even if they didn't know it. And so the cat lies beside you now, its body like a weighted stone of warmth, its breath syncing with yours. You are not alone, even in dreams, even in silence, even in the warmth that requires no words. The door opens to the morning. The herbalist stands at her wooden door. Its surface is worn, smooth with seasons, etched with time. She places her hand on the latch, pauses, and whispers a blessing into the stillness beyond. Not because she must, but because the moment deserves it. Then she opens the door. Not wide, just enough. And the morning enters like a friend. Not all at once, but respectfully. A breeze kisses her cheek. The light glides across the floor. In medieval practice, many healers would wait to open their homes until they had stilled their soul, believing that the outside world should meet their calm, not their worry. Today, the door opens into quiet, and quiet greets it in return. The village in hushed awakening. The path outside the cottage winds gently toward the village. It's not paved, just packed earth, lined with moss and small round stones. And on it, faint footprints, not fresh, not rushed. The herbalist steps out slowly. To her left, a baker's chimney curls smoke into the soft blue sky. To her right, a flock of hens cluck lazily near a gate. Everything moves in half time. Nothing startles. Medieval villages often rose with the sky itself, not clocks, not bells. They let the world show them the pace. And today, it chooses to whisper. The baker's first loaf. Down the lane, the baker has just pulled his first loaf from the stone oven. Its crust crackles. The scent carries through the air. A warm sweetness that curls around corners and hedges. In centuries past, the first bread of the day was offered in silence. not to gods, but to the quiet, to honor the hours of darkness that protected the dough as it rose. The herbalist stops at his stall. He nods. No coin is exchanged, just a small loaf wrapped in cloth, still warm. She places it in her basket. You, still nestled under layers of dream, somehow feel that bread in your hands. Its warmth, its softness, its silent promise of nourishment, and your breath deepens again. A feather on the fence post. As she walks homeward, the herbalist notices something small and delicate resting atop the old fence. A feather, pale gray, edged with soft white. In the Middle Ages, finding a feather at dawn was believed to be a sign that someone had been thinking of you in the night, perhaps in prayer, perhaps in longing, perhaps in love. She smiles, lifts it gently, tucks it between the pages of a herb journal inside her basket. There is no rush, no need to question. The feather knows where it belongs, and so do you. Tending to the leaf and root. Back in the garden, she kneels among the plants, hands dirt soft, fingernails clean but stained with green from years of tending. Today, she checks for signs, the curl of a leaf, the droop of a stem, the silent language of plants. She plucks a few sprigs of thyme, snips elderflower blossoms, leaves most untouched. In the old days, herbalists believed you should only take what was needed, and never before the plant had spoken. Some say they still do, if you're quiet enough. Today her basket carries only what the plants gave freely, and still sleeping, you feel a sense of balance settle through your body. No taking, only receiving, only peace. The water that welcomes. A wooden basin waits near the side of the cottage, where spring water trickles down a spout made from hollowed reed. She dips her hands in it, cool, alive, blessed by birdsong. In older times, it was common to wash the face not just in water, but in silence, as an act of presence. She cups it gently, presses it to her cheeks, then lets the last drops fall to the earth. And something old in you, perhaps something from a lifetime you do not remember, feels that same water trace across your brow. A sacred washing, a morning cleansing. You are freshened by it, even in dream. Tea for two, one still sleeping. Inside once more, the herbalist prepares a second cup of tea. This one for you. She steeps it gently, marjoram and sweet violet, a blend once believed to soothe those lost in thought, to calm the choleric humors of the mind, to soften sharp edges unseen. She places it beside your pillow. Steam rises, swirls, not meant to wake you, only to surround you. Your breath draws it in slowly, softly, and with it, calm. So deep, it feels like being swaddled in lavender wind. Light at the windowsill. The light now rests fully along the window ledge. It touches everything. The candlestick, the edge of the table, the paw of the sleeping cat, the bowl of salt, the linen cloth, the gentle steam of tea. This is not light that commands. It does not beckon or insist. It merely is. A presence like a heartbeat, like the hush of a held breath, and it reaches your face at last, slowly warming the air around your eyes, your cheek, the tip of your nose, still asleep, still dreaming, still held. A basket of blessings. The basket on the table is now full, but not heavy. Inside rest the morning's kindnesses, a loaf of warm bread, a few stalks of thyme, a tiny wildflower, a folded note from the baker with no words, and a single white feather. Each item speaks in its own way, not with sound, but with presence. In medieval lore, healers kept blessing baskets to share with the ill or weary, not as medicine, but as reminders. Reminders of beauty, of simplicity, of being thought of. The herbalist arranges each item just so, then covers the basket with linen. Not for a patient, not for duty, just because kindness multiplies when carried gently. And you, still dreaming, feel that same kindness settle into your chest like a second heart. A visit to the shepherd's path. Later, she walks beyond the garden's edge, where the hills roll gently into mist. There, a shepherd guides a small flock toward morning pasture. Woolly bodies bob like clouds on earth. He lifts his staff in greeting. No need for words. The herbalist offers a sprig of rosemary wrapped in a ribbon, a charm against fever, and a wish for strength. In medieval times, such tokens were passed between villagers in silence, a way to say, "I see you. I honor your burdens. You are not alone." The shepherd bows, presses the bundle to his chest. You, still wrapped in sleep, feel the weight of that gesture, and something inside you feels seen too. The village bell does not ring. There is a bell in the heart of the village, small, bronze, weathered with moss. But it does not ring today. Not because something is wrong, but because nothing needs rushing. On certain mornings long ago, the bellkeeper would leave the rope untouched to honor the slow day. A quiet celebration of calm. No markets, no gatherings, no noise. Just slow walking, slow tea, slow breath. Today is such a day. And the silence of that unrung bell echoes through the valley like the hush before a lullaby. You do not hear it, and yet you do. It rings in the space between your breaths. A visit to the weaver. Past the well and the orchard path, the herbalist enters a cottage woven with light and shadow. It is the weaver's home. Threads hang in every corner, dyed with walnut, saffron, woad, and berry. She touches a finished shawl made of nettle fiber, soft, surprisingly light, and kissed with the scent of elderflower. The weaver gifts it to her. No price, no question. In return, she offers a jar of lemon balm elixir and a pouch of dried marjoram wrapped in silk. These are not trades. These are exchanges of care. You, in sleep, feel the shawl wrap around you as if it were yours all along. Its fibers hum with gentleness. Its warmth carries the whisper of hands that never hurry. Under the oak that remembers. At the edge of the village stands an ancient oak, wide, gnarled, with a hollow that hums softly in the breeze. No one remembers when it was planted, but everyone remembers what it means. It is called the listener. In the Middle Ages, such trees were believed to carry the thoughts of the village, to remember prayers too soft for church walls, and to keep secrets safe in their bark. The herbalist kneels beneath it. She doesn't speak aloud. She only breathes. You, sleeping far from that tree, feel its presence nonetheless. It offers no words, only stillness, only shade, only knowing. Preparing the evening stew, as sun begins to tilt ever so gently toward west, the herbalist returns home. She stokes the hearth once more. The flame, now familiar, purrs like a sleepy cat. She fills the pot with water from the spring basin, adds herbs, marjoram for clarity, fennel for balance, parsley for lightness, a pinch of mint for sweetness, carrots, turnips, a few dried apples, and a whisper of salt. She stirs slowly, not to cook, but to invite. In old kitchens, food was stirred with intention, clockwise to bring comfort, counterclockwise to release sorrow. Today she stirs gently, clockwise, and with each circle your breath matches the rhythm, round and round, soothing, settling, sacred. Candles lit with memory. The sun has not yet set, but in preparation she lights 3 candles, one for gratitude, one for those she has lost, one for dreams not yet born. In medieval homes, such ritual candles burn near bedsides to hold space for the soul to drift. The flames flicker softly. Each one burns low, golden, quiet. You, still resting, still held. Feel their warmth like firelight behind your closed eyes. Even in sleep, you are surrounded by light. Not bright, not burning, just gentle, just enough. The world waits for you. The house quiets again. Outside, the sky begins its descent, color fading from blue to violet to deep feathered gray. The cat returns to the hearth. The tea cools. The stew simmers. And you remain beneath the blanket, your breath slow, your spirit safe. Nothing will begin without you. The world is in no rush. You are not missing anything. You are not needed anywhere else. Right now your only task is this: to rest, to breathe, to receive. The herbalist watches the window, waiting for stars, and you drift deeper, deeper, into the warmth she made for you. The first breath of dusk. The light outside has changed. No longer day, not quite night. This is the blue hour, when everything is tinted indigo and the sky holds its breath. Birdsong grows softer, leaves quiet their rustle. Even the breeze seems to move more gently now. In medieval villages, twilight was seen as a sacred in-between. A veil-thin passage when the world of spirit and rest gently touched the world of waking. The herbalist stands at her door again, not to leave, but to watch. She closes her eyes, lets the air wash over her face. You feel it too somehow. A breeze not on your skin, but in your breath. And without realizing it, your whole body sinks another inch deeper into sleep. The hearth reclaimed. Inside, the stew has thickened. Its scent now fills the whole cottage. Herbs and root vegetables in quiet patience. She stirs it once, twice, and then places a lid atop the pot. Dinner can wait. For now, she turns to the hearth, arranging small logs and bark in an old worn pattern. A fire laid like a prayer. In the Middle Ages, it was common to dress the evening fire, not just for warmth, but as a symbol of protection for the long night. She lights it. It catches slowly, gently, like a lullaby beginning at the very edge of sound. The crackling, soft and rhythmic, echoes in the quiet room, and you, still resting, hear that crackle as if from far away. A memory of warmth you didn't know you carried. A journal and a feather. At the table, the herbalist opens her journal. Its pages are thick, textured like linen, smelling faintly of clove and wax. She takes the feather she found this morning and dips it in ink. A slow, careful movement. Then she writes. Not sentences, not stories, just moments. Clouds hung low, barrage in bloom, bread warm in hand, dreamer still sleeping. Thank you. This is her nightly ritual, to write gratitude in quiet ink. In medieval custom, many believed that blessings written by candlelight would remain folded in the heart of the home. She closes the journal, and somehow, without moving, you feel that ink pressed gently into your own memory, as if her words were written in your name. 3 candles for evening. The 3 candles she lit earlier are lower now, one nearly gone. She replaces it with a fresh one, dipped in beeswax, rolled by hand. Its scent is faintly sweet, honey and resin and thyme. She lights it with a match drawn from a box etched with moon faces. A gift from an old friend, long gone, never forgotten. In her world, candlelight is not for brightness, it's for presence. As the flame flutters, shadows dance across the wooden beams, and you, still dreaming, feel those shadows move across your chest like silk. Nothing heavy, just softness. Just breathe. The cat chooses stillness. The cat, awake again, stretches across the floor. It does not meow. It does not hunt. It only moves to the foot of the bed and lies down, eyes half-lidded, tail curled like a fern. In old village lore, cats who stayed at your feet during sleep were guarding your dreams, not from nightmares, but from forgetting them. Tonight the cat stays, not out of duty, but choice. And you, curled in warmth, feel a dream slip softly through your mind like mist between trees. You won't remember it fully, only that it was peaceful, only that you were held. A story prepared in silence. The herbalist sits in her favorite chair, the one carved with vines and stars. In her lap is a scroll, not one of knowledge, not instruction, a story. Each evening she chooses one to read aloud, to herself, to the fire, to the house, to anyone listening in the hush. Tonight's tale is called The Lantern Keeper and the Hollow Hill. She doesn't open it yet. She just holds it, lets it warm in her palms, feels the weight of the words inside. In the Middle Ages, stories were often considered medicine, for minds, for hearts, for souls. And tonight, this one is meant for you. She waits, not to see if you wake, but to know when the time is right. She will know. She always does. Twilight enters the room. Outside, the sky is velvet. The last light of day has folded into dusk. Not gone, just softened. Stars blink awake, not all at once, but shyly, like children stepping into a quiet chapel. Their light spills through the cottage window, touches the edge of the herbalist shawl, glows faintly on the teacup by your bedside. You are still breathing slow, still floating. The evening has entered fully now. It does not pull you forward, it only surrounds you, like arms that ask nothing, only to let go, only to rest. A story gently told. She unrolls the scroll, clears her throat. Not loudly, just enough for the fire to listen. Then she begins. Once in a hill hollowed by time lived a lantern keeper who spoke only to moths and moonlight. Her voice is soft, even in your dreams. You may not hear the words fully, only the rhythm, the sway of syllables, the rise and fall of breath. She tells it slowly, without urgency. In her story there are no monsters, only stars, only caves made of moss and songs, only peace. And as the tale curls like smoke through the room, your whole body lets go. You do not need to stay awake to listen. The story will listen to you.